All right, here we go. Hello, fearless friends. Today we have a special presentation from fearless photographer Priyanca Rao in New York.
Hi.
Hi. Before Priyanca talks about herself and talk about this presentation, I just want to say that I'm really glad that Priyanca is talking with us and sharing this with us. And I hope that we'll be doing many more of these in the future. So, Priyanca, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. This really means a lot, and it's so nice to be part of this community. I learned so much from watching these videos myself, so I'm so glad to be giving back to the community. So I'm a New York City-based photographer. I shoot mostly weddings, and I live in New York City, and it's kind of crazy here. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And today I want to talk a little bit about how my life is surrounded by chaos. And I have 2 kids, I have a husband, I have the city itself, and there's a lot going on in my life. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the business? Are you full time? How many weddings do you do per year?
I do 10 weddings a year.
Okay.
I do about 20 smaller sessions, like engagement shoots and family shoots, things like that.
Do you do any second shooting?
This year I did. I second shot for Jide, which was awesome. And I also collaborate a lot with other fearless photographers, and they second shoot for me. So it's like a really fun playground when I have other people working with me too.
Okay. All right, right. And how old are your kids?
They are 3 and 4. They're very little.
Yeah.
So when I say like my life is chaos, which is my topic, it's really chaos. They are always asking me for things. They can't do anything by themselves. So I'm handling a full-time business. I'm handling the 2 kids, the school runs, and family. So, and it's a lot.
And does your husband work outside the home?
Yes, he has like a 9 to 5 job, which is really an 8 to 12 job. So
yeah.
sometimes I feel like a single parent, and that's all part of the chaos.
Yeah, and you take care of the whole household. Everything is when he's not here, it's your responsibility to keep those 2 kids.
Yeah, but he does bedtime, which is really amazing.
Okay.
That's when I just switch out and I'm like done. Even if they're crying and ripping the walls and ceiling down, it's his job.
yeah, you have to
I'm done. Yeah.
on work. Yeah, so great. Okay, yeah. So I'll let you go, and I'm here to learn. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for having me and listening to this talk. It's very personal to me because if people know me, they know how chaotic my life is, and I'm dodging a lot of things together. And my history with chaos started when I was a little girl. I went to boarding school, and I was left to figure out things on my own. So I had my own system of doing things, and in fact, I've actually worked well under pressure and chaos. I found a way of dealing with it on my own. And for example, when I was in fashion school, I made my whole concept boards and 6 collection outfit piece all in 2 weeks. And I worked really well under pressure, and I was able to execute it, and it went pretty well. But when it came to wedding photography, and I was expected to deliver really good, high quality images at key moments under pressure, I was missing moments. I was feeling really stressed out and a lot of anxiety, and I wasn't able to nail it. So I slowed down a little bit, and I thought about how I can better my photography under these situations to deliver better high quality images, and make myself connect with my conscious and really see what it is I'm looking for in these images rather than drowning myself in the chaos. So some of the things that I've learned, I've kind of put down in this presentation, and hopefully everyone can learn a little bit from it. Like, feel free to like make notes or write things down that are relevant to you. But first I started asking myself, why is it that I like taking photos? What is the purpose of me taking photos? And what is it that I want to give to my clients? So these questions are very valid and very important to figure out how to deal with your own chaos. Oops. So these are some of the images from my earlier years of work as a wedding photographer. So stress and anxiety, you can see it in the images. They're really beautiful moments, key moments that I'm missing. I'm shooting at the surface, I'm shooting process. I'm not slowing down to ask myself what it is that I'm drawn to over here, how best to photograph this. This is a part of the Indian wedding where the cousins of the groom steal his shoe, and in the end, before the ceremony, they ask him for money in return for his shoe. And it's a really sweet moment because it ends up being like this. And when this was happening, I would start getting overwhelmed. I would put my camera down and actually look at the moment and try and see what they were feeling instead of tuning into myself and asking myself what I was feeling and how best to photograph this. So again, I was missing out a lot. And I was also procrastinating at key moments and being happy with what I'm getting rather than working a shot and nailing it. This is a really sweet moment where the guys are trying to figure out this really long garland. And I feel like the picture doesn't do justice to what was going on. I should have worked a little bit more and asked myself, like, what is it that I'm shooting here? And how best to shoot it? So I have some tools that I have made a list of that help me deal better with the chaos.
Okay.
So first, let's talk about the brain. So we have two sides of the brain. We have the left side and the right side. While the left side of the brain helps with analytical thought, it helps with language, science, math, and number skills, the right side of the brain works more with creativity, imagination, holistic thought, music awareness, things like that. So it's more personal. It's something that we all need to tap into and grow more of. And I definitely needed to work on my right side of the brain a lot. So how do I wake up the right side of my brain?
What's the right side? Is that the analytical side or the emotional side?
Emotional side.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I'm super emotional, but it sort of ended there. I had to like dig in deeper and just let it flow. Let all of those things come out and show in the photos. So I started painting a huge mural on my wall. It was my apartment. I could mess it up. I could do whatever I want. Nobody was judging me. And I started painting upside down to really stop my thought process from being, going around the lines of what am I painting? How am I painting? But more than that, I was focusing on the shapes, the form, the paint flowing, and really enjoying this art and kind of triggering the right side of my brain. It was very, very liberating. So there's a lot of activities that you can do. If you don't have a wall to paint on, you can try writing with your left hand. If you're right-handed, you can write upside down. You can write back to front, front to back. You can mirror it, things like that really help kind of trigger the right side of your brain. Next, I made a whole lifestyle change. I became a minimalist. So my apartment was like an art gallery. I was collecting art from all over the world. I had masks, I had clothes from everywhere, furniture, books. I got rid of everything. And I just had the bare essential. So I have 4 chairs, one for each person in my family. I have 1 couch. And I got rid of all my clothes. I have 50 pieces of clothing in my wardrobe. And getting rid of all this stuff really helped me focus on myself and what really mattered to me. Even my gear cut down to a basic mirrorless camera that I use for candidates and a full frame camera that I use for off-camera lighting. So really, like, cutting the stuff helped me super focus on, okay, this is what I want, this is what I want to go to. Another thing that I started practicing more was, and it's super easy to practice, is just breathing exercises. So to trigger the right side of your brain, you breathe through your left nostril. So you just close the right side and you breathe through the left side, and it really oxygenates the right side. So when I used to go for a school drop-off, I would, you know, be the mommy pushing the stroller like that, or like just coffee runs or driving, trying to like connect more with myself and what's inside of me, what I'm feeling, things like that. And listening to music also really takes away from analytical thought and focusing more on things that you are drawn to visually.
What kind of music do you listen to?
I usually will pick one favorite singer or artist and do a radio on them, so that I'm introduced to a lot of other artists. So my go-to is actually Macklemore.
Okay.
So that was my wedding entrance song. Yeah, so listening to music, I would go to the streets of New York City and practice photography. Here I have to say I had a mentor to guide me through the whole thing. Susanna Barbera was my mentor, and it really helped me identify what I was drawn to, get over some of my own personal fears, and find really what was in my consciousness and bring it out in form of photography. So I would just plug in music and I'd go to streets. I'd spend time with homeless people, photographing what I was drawn to, like dogs, this girl getting a tattoo, and then, you know, just bystanders and people walking on the street, and really focusing on these moments and seeing what I like and building layers out of these stories. Another thing that I'm really drawn to is walls. So I spent a good 10 minutes here just photographing people in front of this wall, and it so happened that this guy walking past with a trash bag, his profile looks exactly like the guy on the wall. So when you can calm yourself down and just listen to music and focus on what you are drawn to, things kind of fall into place. Maybe the photo gods were listening to me. Here is another example of my street work where I was very hesitant to talk to people on the street. I would just go and shoot and hide behind things. So I saw this girl holding the Jesus sign, and I, you know, started taking photos of her, and I started talking to her. In the end, I ended up holding the Jesus sign, and she was giving out flyers. So we had a connection. And then after a while, I said, hey, I'm going to go take some photos. And I started taking photos of her and layering it with other people that I was drawn to on the street. So really kind of tuning into my consciousness and bringing out what I felt inside. This is a great picture to show how I felt at weddings, because there's something really beautiful that I'm drawn to, and I don't know what to do with it. So there was this monster stained glass painting on the wall, and I knew I wanted to somehow incorporate it in a photo, but nothing was coming to me. So I just plugged on my music, and I just stood there for 10 minutes staring at it, and then just shooting very slowly, trying to listen to music and really get into the groove. And it kind of lined up for me perfectly where I made this shot. So practicing on the street has been really, really helpful for me to channel into what I'm feeling inside. Here's a friend of mine, Ilana, who when she laughs, her face looks completely different. You can't even recognize her. So I wanted to make a really cool picture of her smile and layer it with, you know, and I found this little smiley face on a photo, what's it called, a bus stop. So I kind of layered that with her smile. But this is something that came from inside. You know, it's not something that was, okay, I'm seeing this. It would never have fallen into place unless I was like practicing on the streets and trying to talk to my consciousness. Another moment that I get super stressed out at weddings is when people are moving and dancing and doing something really cool. Like this guy is flipping in the air, he's practicing martial arts, and I usually freeze in situations like this at weddings, but here I just sat myself down, got a nice clean shot of the sky that had beautiful sun setting, and just every time he went into his flip, I positioned him on the rule of third and took simple, clean images. And this training has really helped me in moments of chaos during a wedding. Another one of my fears that I overcame was just approaching people and asking them if I can take their photo. I was really hesitant to talk to people and get rejected. And this was one of the exercises I did. Just go up to people and say, hey, you look great, can I take a photo of you? And this girl was very introverted, very shy, and I worked this shot for a while and settled on this picture where she's showing me who she is and what her personality is like. And these two people on Coney Island were on their very first date. I had no idea. But I went up to them and I said, can I take a photo of you? And they told me their story. So I just sat with them for maybe like 10, 20 minutes and just built layers and try to figure out what I was drawn to. I love the way she looked at this guy who she was on a first date with. And I'm just trying to capture what she's feeling, is she having a good time, and what I'm drawn to in her. And also the fact that his face is not seen really added mystery to the whole composition. So that was the brain. So just like really slowing down the brain and thinking about what is inside, how do we bring it out, and tapping into the right side of the brain can really help us focus on our consciousness and calm us down. And next we move on to the eyes. So everyone sees differently. How is it that you see? How is it that I see that is different? This is what clients book us for, right? Like they want to buy the way that you see. So like make a list of the things that you see that are different. So for me, I see, I'm drawn to hands, I'm drawn to energy, and I'm drawn to movement. So I'm always asking myself in times of chaos, what is it that I see and what is it that I'm drawn to? And I want to kind of focus on these three things. So I encourage everyone to make a list and kind of remember these things in your head. I also want to go through some of the observation exercises that you can do to see better. So next time we are out on the street or doing a coffee run or school drop off, instead of like being on our phones or thinking about what we're going to make for dinner, like just put everything aside and just focus on what is in front of you. What do you see? And don't think of why, how, when, more like just look at form, shapes, textures, and what is it that you're drawn to? What makes you happy from inside? So here are some of the photographers that I love, and I love the way they see, and they see in a very unique way. Here's Kappa, Louis, and Liu, and he sees in a very abstract way. He is really very artistic, and I can also see a little bit of chaos, but he's tamed his chaos and he knows how to channel it. Susanna Barbera is also my mentor. She sees in black and white. She shoots a lot of silhouettes. The different shapes and forms kind of combining itself is like a puzzle where the pieces fit in together. So it's really artistic and cool. Todd Lafler sees in a very, very different way. He sees a lot of humor. He really taps into people's personalities, and people, people book him because they're drawn to the way that he sees humor. So how is it that I see things, and how can I show them through my photography? So I see three things through layers. I'm always looking for foreground, midground, and background. And when the three things come together, they tell a very concise story. Remember I said I was drawn to hands, energy, and movement. I'm also asking myself in these stressful situations at a wedding, okay, what do I need to do now? Okay, I'm looking at hands. How do I best photograph this? Where do I need to be? And so it really calms me down when I can default to the way I see things. Practicing on the street really helps with my portrait sessions, because here we're out in New York City and I'm just layering foreground, midground, background with all things that are New York. And these clients are booking me because of the way that I see these layers. Another great layer example is this one where all of the heads are turning into like the golden spiral. So you go around with the heads and then your eyes settle on the sweet spot of the bride and groom in a really joyous embrace. So this is the way I see things. So make a list of what you see and then default to those things. So we've looked at the brain and how to calm it down. We've talked about how our eyes see things. And now let's talk about our hands. So if there is something that you need to work on, get your hands on it. I don't do well in chaotic situations. So I got my hands on an exercise where I've put myself in a very chaotic situation and just practiced every single week for an hour and try to get better and better and better at it, so that when I'm in that situation at a wedding, I'm able to calm down, think about what worked for me during my practice, and execute those decisions. So I picked my daughter's ballet class, and there's nothing more chaotic than a bunch of 3-year-olds bouncing off the walls, twirling, moving, and falling. So this was week 1 of my practice. It was chaos, and my photos show that it was chaos. There's so much texture, there's floors, there's windows, there's walls. And of course there are moments, but the images are very, very chaotic. So week 2, 3, 4, I keep practicing every week. I started cleaning it up a little bit. I squared up against the wall. I started focusing on my rules, rule of third. I'm trying to do symmetry in some of them. I'm trying to shoot layers, plus get the moment. So it's getting a little bit better. And then finally, week 12, I fixed my, this is a situation where it's really bad lighting. It's low lighting. I'm shooting with natural light. I bumped up my ISO. I took a little bit more zoom lens. I'm shooting on a 50 mm here. I've bumped up slowed down my shutter speed. So there's a little bit of movement, whatever it takes to get those shots. And then I'm able to breathe a little bit better and focus on what I'm drawn to. So practicing my rule of third, it's super grainy, but that's not the point. It's just, how do I clean this up? How do I take simple, great images of what my eyes see? Working my layers. And remember the 3 things that I talked about that I see: hands, energy, and movement. All of those 3 things in this picture right here. So if we do a side-by-side comparison, this is week 1 on the left-hand side and week 12 on the right-hand side. I'm still shooting this, by the way, so it's an ongoing thing that I would probably never stop. I also photograph my family, I photograph everything. I practice every week. So we've talked about the brain, we've talked about the eyes, we've talked about the hands and how to get your hands on it. And now let's talk about the feet. So when I'm in a wedding situation where I'm working a scene and I'm like really not getting a lot, I'm feeling a little despondent, and I'm you know, I'm like, okay, I need a break. So I go for a walk, take my feet and I go for a walk. And I leave my second shooter in my place to shoot the key moments. And when I go for my walk, it's just for me. It's for me to find something that I am drawn to, that inspires me, so I can feel rejuvenated and come back to the line of fire and start shooting it again. So I go for a little walk and I'm looking for anything that I'm drawn to. I'm looking for kids. I'm looking for old people snoozing. I'm looking for photo booths with goofy things going on. I'm looking for reflections. I'm looking for reactions. This is like a little exercise for myself to make me feel better. So this is some of my walk photos, and this is a little child who is playing during a ceremony, because which child likes to watch a 2-hour Indian wedding ceremony? This was when there was a lineup of all the bridesmaids holding posters, and they all wanted posed shots of them holding the signs up and reading out a sentence. But once that's done, and I'm not really into posed photos, I went for a little walk to get away from that. And I found this little boy really tired of waiting and like rubbing his eye, and thought it was quite funny. This was during one of the reception dances where everyone was moving a lot. I was missing the light. I just wasn't getting anything, and I was feeling pretty down. So I went for a little walk, and I found a balcony. And from the balcony, I just sat there shooting, trying to make things look very symmetric. And I love this because it has movement and energy, and it's very, very festive. Here's another example where I was photographing this groom reception, groom's entry into the ceremony, where, you know, all his friends and family welcome him. They're dancing, there's music playing from a van, and they had smoke bombs. So I was really up close, and I was photographing the smoke bombs, and the smoke was getting my face and my camera, and I couldn't really see anything. I was missing a lot. And so I left my second shooter there. I think Steffi Helmer was shooting with me. I left Steffi there, and I went for a little walk. And then I climbed the top of the van that was playing the music, and I got the shot of all the hands in the air and the colored smoke filling the sky. And then once I was done with that, I came right back in, and I started photographing close-ups. But this photo made me feel good about getting back in there. Here's another example of when I was shooting like a choreographed dance by the cousins. In Indian weddings, the cousins practice a dance and they perform it for the bride and groom. And it was very rehearsed, and I felt there were not enough moments. So I was a bit despondent. So I went for a little walk, and I came across these relatives taking photos on their iPhones, and they were having a blast. So I worked the scene for a good 10 minutes trying to get all the layers in. And just looking at this photo in the back of my screen made me so happy, and I was able to join back on the line of fire. So here's a good example of practicing on my kids. I'm able to see these funny moments that kids come up with. This was during a cocktail part of the wedding where people were posing and getting into groups, and I can only do that for certain time. I don't like posed shots, so I kind of left that, put a second shooter there, and went for a walk. And then I came across this little boy who was right in the middle of two orange glasses with orange peels, and he had an orange in his mouth and an orange candle in the bottom. So it's just a little bit humorous, and made a very sweet composition because of the blue and orange on the opposite side of the color wheel. So I was really drawn to this. So all of these photos kind of make me happy, and I'm able to come back into the wedding and shoot it with a new, rejuvenated sense of spirit. So when I'm in this situation and I'm feeling overwhelmed and chaotic, I'm asking myself, am I thinking with my brain? Am I making sense of this chaos? Am I seeing with my eyes, and am I seeing the things that I'm meant to see? For me, it's my hands, movement, energy. Am I getting my hands on it? Have I been photographing what I've been practicing? And if everything else fails, is it time for me to take a walk, leave the chaos behind, and find something that really fills my heart and rejuvenates me so I can get back to the line of fire? That's it.
Right. Cool. Thanks. I have questions.
Yes, ask away.
So how do you measure your success? How do you know if you're making progress, or if you ever get there? Whatever, close enough. But how do you know what your successes are? How do you measure?
That's an interesting question. So when I'm photographing what I love,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at the photos and it makes me feel like I'm able to deliver images to clients that kind of show them all like the love, the moments, and all the reasons for why they got married. I feel I've done my job right, and I feel like, you know, that was a successful round of photography for that wedding.
So do you actually do you count those photos, or do you just have a feeling after each wedding?
It's just a feeling. I'm not recording anything. It's just a feeling from inside. It's not the awards. It's not recognition or compliments. For me, like all of those walk photos
Mm-hmm.
are as important um, as the rest of the photos from a wedding, because as long as I'm happy doing what I'm doing and I'm able to share that happiness with the client by making them happy, for me, that's a success.
Okay, so it's like a feeling that you just know, like after a wedding, you know that
I feel good.
you feel good, you feel extra good, you feel, like,
It's a high. It's like,
it's a,
it's a
I,
total high. Some
right,
weddings feel
right.
super, super good because there are so many moments and you worked really hard to photograph those moments in the best way that you possibly can. You've worked hard.
I'm just like trying to quantify things, like, like after 1 year, you feel like level 5 good, and then after 10 years, you feel like level 9. I was just wondering if you like,
No,
it's a
absolutely.
way for you to somehow quantify that progress so that you feel like
I'm not a person who quantifies it.
yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure I would recommend that even, because it's very superficial, right? It's very personal.
So
So
is it you feel good about the wedding, or good about what you did, or what you're doing, or not, or
yes. Also, you can measure it from your client's reaction to. I make a slideshow at the end of a wedding,
yeah.
and I can totally tell if they got what I was trying to capture, their
Mhm.
story. Have I told their story well, by just their reaction to the slideshow? So that makes me feel super good. It's like such a buzz. Yeah. Did that answer
And
it?
yeah. Sure. And to
But
go,
if there is a way of measuring it, I would be interested in knowing it.
I don't know. I just wonder how, like, just asking you.
Yeah.
Now, going back in time, how did you how did you diagnose this issue with yourself? How did you come to this knowledge, and what prompted you to take steps to do something about it? Like, how did you who told you this, or how did you find that out, or how did you figure it out?
I think it runs a little bit in my family. We're all very
Hmm.
highly strung people, and we're always it's a very complex family.
Okay.
So I get a little bit of it from my dad. Um, but also I have a very honest husband who will tell me
Mm.
when I'm being totally all over the place, be like, all right, like I'm not understanding what's going on right now, but you need to calm down. So and then I finally decided that I need to, do something about it.
Like it,
um,
like
Sorry.
this is not helping you. Like, this is,
You can't function like this forever.
yeah. But I'm thinking, like, a lot of us do things and we don't recognize that it gets in the way. Like, we don't know what we do is not helping, and when we do, then we make changes. I'm just wondering, if there's how you came about. I guess your husband helps you point that out to you, which is,
Yeah.
you know,
You need someone to, sometimes you don't realize it unless someone tells you,
yeah.
because you think that you're leading a normal life and this is how everyone lives. Especially in New York, where it's so chaotic and so busy.
Mhm.
Everyone is stressed out. My stress is nothing special, it's like level 2.
Yeah.
Like there's such high stress jobs, there's 9 million people. When I walk on the street, there's me pushing the stroller, there's like 50 other people walking, there's construction on this side, there's roadworks on the other side, and there's the biker trying to ride his bike in the middle.
Right.
The other day, this whole thing happened, and I just like started screaming on the street. It was really funny, and no one turned to look at me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, there's all these things that I'm realizing that it does get to you, and you can do things about it, like breathing, meditation, doing activities that really calm you down and help you connect with your consciousness. Like for me, painting has been, painting that mural has really helped me give myself time to connect with myself. And I have to say, phototherapy with Susanna Barbera has also helped me a lot to recognize these things. It's not a bad thing, stress. You could also use it to your advantage. I realize the stress in me also makes me very fearless. Because you're already stressed out, things can get worse, right? So just do what it takes to get your shot. Like talking to people, I do it because a little bit of my stress, because if I'm already stressed out, all I have to do is go and ask them if I can take their photo. So it makes me more like confident in a way.
Yeah, so the mentoring you have with Susanna is like, was it can you talk about it? It was like a year-long program. Is she taking on more students, or what do you know about
I think she's taking she teaches more than one student. She teaches a lot of people. I do it every week or every 2 weeks with her, and she knows all of the things that I'm going through. So we talk about all of these fears, my stress, even personal relationships, connecting more with your family. And then each week I have assignments where I go through them and I kind of try and tackle all of these issues that I have with myself through photography, which is amazing because that really, really helps me think less about why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it, and just doing it in the way that I want to do it and get there. So it's called phototherapy, which is very appropriately named. And I'm definitely, like, I'd say